Guys, Fox here. Recording another Buddy Fight profile for you guys. So I figured it's been a while since the set came out. I don't have the deck completely finished because I am low on funds right now. I figured I'd bring you guys the deck profile anyways, show you what I would substitute if you had them. And that profile is Belial, otherwise known as the 666 Demon Devil himself. So first off, buddy-wise, we are running 4 Simier. Essentially what Simier does: drop a card, search for a Belial or the item, or when I think it's a size 3 EDD, let me just check, yep. Originally size 3 EDD would be put into the drop zone, you can send him instead. Then we're running 2 of the old Belials, 2 of the new Belials. You don't really need to max out on them as you have enough searchers in the deck and draw power. Old Belial has moved, triple attack, you pay 3 age to call it, 13k power, 13k defense. When he can't be destroyed or returned to hand by card effects, and he basically, when you're at 1 life, gets penetrate, 666 crit. So amazing card. It's the older version. The new version we got is Hellbeast Belial, or Belial Hellbeast rather. Essentially what this does: 13k power, 13k defense still. Its call cost, put on top of Belial and pay 2 gauge. Its counter: if your life is 1, you can call this card by paying its call cost. So basically, if your opponent's going to destroy your Belial during their turn, you can call it if your life is 1. Really good overall. All EDD can't be destroyed or returned to hand, and their critical can't be reduced. And then if you have 1 life, gives penetrate and 666 to all your EDDs on the field. So really amazing card overall. Has move, triple attack, and soul guard. The other Belial does have move as well. I don't know if I mentioned that. So not only is it better version of the old Belial, but it protects all of your units. Critical can't be reduced, and all of your units are swinging with that high pressure. Next, if you had 4, I would run 4. Is this beautiful baby right here, known as Envy. You pay 2 gauge, put the top card of your deck in his soul. If you have 6 or less life, it's a size 0. Counter: you could choose an opponent's monster or item on the field during their turn, pay a gauge, draw a card, nullify its abilities, rest it, and then if you have 1 or less life, the chosen card cannot stand for this turn. Also has move, double attack, and soul guard. Really good card overall. Interrupts your opponent's plays, and I would say definitely the best backup for the deck. Then I'm running 2 Lupus, would run 4 if you had it. Can only call it once per turn, but that's because it has an amazing ability. When it is called, if you have an EDD on the field, you get 2 gauge and draw a card, and then if you have 6 or less life, you draw another card. So definitely really amazing. But not only that, as a second ability, you can put it in the soul of an EDD on your field. That card gets soul guard, and then if you have, I believe it's 6 or less life, it gets 10k power and 10k defense. So then your Belials are both at 23k defense. So you're basically playing Danger Vegetables at that point with Curry. Really good card. I would maximize out on it if you can. Then another size 3 EDD that we're running is Gluttony, as you can see here on the left. Apologize for the shaking, working on getting that stand for you guys. So 6 or less life, size reduced by 3, so it's a size 0. And then counter: 6 or less life, choose a card on your opponent's field, put this in the drop zone, destroy the card, and drop one of your opponent's gauge if you do. Then your opponent chooses and discards a card. Then if it attacks, if you have 6 or less life, gets double attack. So really good card overall. It's just a rare. It's also disruption during your opponent's turn, just like the Envy. Then we are running 4 of the card I can't pronounce, which is Simier. I already explained its effect, so we'll go on to Service, the next size 0. Essentially when it's called, you get a gauge. Then if you have 6 or less life, you get 3 more gauge. So it essentially helps you pay the call cost of all your other EDDs on that you want to call. Next card, I would take this out if you have the other cards that I mentioned before, but it's still not bad. It's Griffiths. You pay a gauge. All EDD can't be rested. Abilities can't be nullified. And when it enters the field, you could get a size 3 EDD from your drop zone. Put it in your hand. So I like it more for the adding a card to your hand, because the new Belial does give your cards protection already, and the old Belial protects itself. Then we're running 2 Draco. I feel like you don't need more than this, just because Belial has so much defense, especially with Lupus. It basically has counter. During an attack on your opponent's turn, you pay a gauge, call it, change the attack target to it, and then when it is destroyed, if you have a life, you draw a card, or if you have 1 life, you draw a card. Then we're running 3 of the Umbrella, because like I said, draw power and search ability. This card is insane and broken with Belial with the synergy. It's call cost, you put 2 EDDs in its soul from drop, pay 2 gauge. Then you can't be dealt damage by your opponent's card effects, so it protects you from being burnt down by Magic World when you set yourself to 1 life, or penetrate. And then when it attacks, you drop an opponent's gauge. If your life is 1, you draw a card, and your opponent discards 1. Also has double attack and soul guard. So essentially they have to kill it 3 times if they want to kill it. Normally with destruction effects, drops your opponent's gauge and their hand cards, and just overall it gets amazing power and critical when you're at 1 life. So this card's amazing. Would run at least 3 of it, wouldn't drop any, and honestly, like I said, it's sometimes even better than Belial. Moving on to the spells, we have 3, sorry about the lighting, it's a little bad in my room. We have 3 Melody of the Evil Moon. Essentially what it does, can only be cast during your opponent's turn if you have an EDD. Counter, you can pay as much life as you want, and then for this turn, the damage you take is first taken from the life that you paid. Or you could draw a card and reduce the next damage you take to 0. Really amazing card. Sets up your Belial, sets up every other card in the deck. Other nullifies we're running 3 Shield and 3 Death Toll. What Shield does, for those of you who don't know, basically all of them you can only cast if you have an EDD. Nullify the attack, 6 or less life, you put the top card of your deck in your gauge and draw a card. And then Death Toll, you nullify the attack, 6 or less life, you get 2 gauge, and your opponent drops 2 gauge. So another key, I would say, strength of the deck is dropping your opponent's gauge, just because so many decks rely on gauge in this format. Especially just off the top of my head, any Dragon World deck, really, Ancient Dragons, the new Ultimate Garga deck. Then we are running 2 Recharger, would max out on this, or run 3 if you have it. Has no call cost if you have 1 life, otherwise pay 2 life, draw 2 cards, and get a gauge. Or no, you get 2 gauge, and then if you have 6 or less life, you draw 2 cards. So even if you're just paying the 2 life, you're getting 2 gauge, but most of the time, like I said, you will be at that less life to get the additional effect. Then this, same thing, I would max out on it if you can. You destroy an EDD, you get 2 gauge and draw 2 cards, and then if you have 6 or less life, you draw an additional card. So basically, you're getting all the effects right off the bat, beyond the extra draw card. Then we're running 2 Death Ashtray. Thinking about bumping this up to 3. It's another way to activate Belial, and not Belial, but all of your other cards surrounding Belial. You can only cast if you have 4 more life. Your life becomes 3, discard all your cards, draw 4. So, card's really good. Sets up all your other card synergies of being less than 6 life. Also, it can recharge your hand. You just want to make sure you play all of your cards before you cast this, so that you're not just losing all your cards to set your abilities. Then we're running 2 Calling, would run 3 to 4 if you have them. What it does is you drop a hand card, check top 5, add up to 2 EDD monsters or items, rest go on your gauge, so builds gauge, searches, really good card. We're running 2 of this. It's a utility card called Diablo Storm. Basically, for the rest of the turn, your power of your EDDs can't be reduced by card effects, and when a size 3 EDD attacks, you destroy a card in your opponent's field, and if you do, you drop 1 of their gauge. So destruction, gauge dropping, really good. Then I'm running 4 Diablo's Grave right now. I would run less of this if you have other of the hollow spells. pay a gauge, and you put 2 EDD monsters or items from your drop into your soul. Then I'm running 2 Diablo's Disposal. I think 2 is enough because, like I said, you could search it, and it's more of a side deck card and utility card. Can use it for free if you have 1 life. Otherwise, destroy an EDD, pay 2 gauge, and choose one of the following: counter, destroy all of your opponent's cards, or drop 3 of your opponent's gauge. So if you know your opponent is running Dragon World, another gauge heavy deck, boom, take all their gauge. Otherwise, you can destroy all their cards, and it's free if you have 1 life. Really good card. If you're not going to main it, I would at least side it. Thinking about taking out 2 of these just to run another one of these, and I have another one of these coming in the mail. Then for our last cards in the deck, we're running 2 Waltz of the Blood Moon. When an EDD comes on your field, you get a gauge once per turn, and then if you go to 0, you can send this to the drop zone, mail the card. If it's an EDD, your life goes to 1. Waltz of the Blood Moon protects your EDDs, or your EDDs abilities can't be nullified by your opponent's cards, and then when a card enters the field, you gain a gauge. Just a good gauge builder if you don't open any of your other cards. And honestly, it's not bad overall. Another card I would run if you have it is the promo monster that if it's in the drop, your life goes to 0. Put it on the bottom of your deck once per game, your life goes to 1. Definitely another card I would check out. Like I said, I probably would maximize these, the Hall of Spells, and run 1 more of these just because it's your best Belial activator in my opinion. Monster wise, I pretty much have everything. I would run 2 more Lupus and 2 more Envy. But other than that, even right now with the deck unfinished, it seems very powerful. I've played against Time Gods, Ultimate Garga, a few other decks that are really good right now, and it seems like it's running really well. But beyond that, that's pretty much the profile. Let me know what you guys think if you made it this far in the video. Drop a like if you did enjoy it. Other than that, let me know what you want to see next. I'm planning on doing Genesis Dragons just because I have the rest of the cards coming for that in the mail. Beyond that, hopefully everybody's safe, and I hope you have a good rest of your day.